Well, I'm glad it's just intimate. I'm glad it's all my friends. Thank you all for coming to The Mind Detective, which, as you all know, is my new book about my extraordinary life and the mind. Primarily because I'm dyslexic, so even writing an email for me is a nightmare. So this book proves very clearly that anything is possible if you believe and you put your mind to it. When I was growing up as a young girl in the 50s and the early 60s, being dyslexic meant you were a bit of a dumbo. You know, you were illiterate, or and it was really uncomfortable for me at school because I had this incredible drive and confidence in me as a person, but I couldn't read or write properly, which was a bit of a dilemma because obviously, you know, on one hand I thought I was absolutely incredible, but on the other hand I was shy and introverted inside because I had this massive problem that I couldn't get out. And growing up, my mother left my younger sister, who's sitting over there, when I was 8 and she was 6, and she ran off actually with the milkman, funnily enough. And we didn't see her for 2 years, and my dad was working really, really hard, so I became my sister's mother, which at 8, which was probably the worst thing for her possible, because obviously I was dyslexic, I didn't have any skills in parenting. I was this poor child who suddenly had to grow up really, really quickly. On reflection today, I actually think that's quite a good thing because it taught me, as painful as it was, it taught me how to problem solve, how to deal with, you know, massive waves of change and emotion, huge responsibility that was unbearable sometimes, but you know, as I always do, I did the best job I could. Jennifer would probably say, not the greatest job in the world, but completely different. So this persona allowed me to almost navigate my way through serious difficulties and problems, and you know, I went a bit wayward when I was about 12 years old. I was, you know, sleeping with people, I was taking drugs, I was smoking, I was selling cigarettes at school, always an entrepreneur, once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur. And I did my very, very best to avoid being in the classroom because it was just too humiliating for me. So outside of school, I started to recognise if I could sell cigarettes and I could influence people, then I could make money. So this became my idea that I would somehow escape this crazy childhood and go and be something amazing. And I knew I could do it. I just knew I could do it, right deep inside. So I went to live in London when I was about 18. I just packed up my bags and left and got on a train. And I met somebody very rich who I saw as an incredible opportunity to help me get to the next step. And you know, people will potentially judge that, but at the end of the day, when you're in that situation, all you can do is do your best. And this opportunity came along. He helped me, really, really helped me. And I got a job with a high street recruitment company, and I started selling. And I worked my way right to the very, very top of that company. It took me probably about 10 years, and I ended up managing director of one of the hugest recruitment companies in London. And nobody knew that I couldn't read or write. And to cut a long story short, by the sort of end of the 90s, I had the #1 financial recruitment headhunting firm in the City of London. I was worth millions. I had 4 houses in London. I had one in Blackheath, one in Chelsea. I had so many Chanel handbags, you wouldn't believe it. I had Balmain jackets, I had everything, diamonds, art, I had everything that you would imagine is what makes you happy. And when I sat on the top, I suddenly realised I'm not happy. I don't feel happy. The Gold Coots car didn't do it. The new car didn't do it, because every time I bought a car, the neighbour bought a bigger one. And I was like, no, now I need to buy it. I was empty. I'd lost all connection with the little girl who ran away. I was addicted to cocaine, I was addicted to champagne. Not because I'm an addict, because I'm not. Actually, I don't have an addictive personality, but I'd spent so much of my time in this environment with people doing it that I became my own environment. Because to fit in and to be part of it, you can't be at a dinner party saying, oh no, I don't drink, or oh no, I'm not having a line, because the person who gives in the city, the person who gives the best party, the best broker, gets the best deal. So I'd made all my money based on selling my soul. And it was a real shock to arrive at this place that I'd imagined was the place where happiness lives, and it just wasn't there. Here I was in the Bellagio Hotel with this gorgeous Mexican door fitter, married. And as I thought about it during the day, a lookalike Elvis Presley had married me in a white chapel in some cheesy ceremony when I was drunk, and I was like, wow, I mean, is this it? But I kind of spun it because this persona was so good at spinning things. And I thought to myself, well, it's not that bad. You know, I mean, I hate my life at home. I've made it. It rains there. This is new. This is amazing. I'll just forget that, and I'll move here, and everything will be. I'll live happily ever after. So I spoke to my banker and my broker, and I put all my money into the stock market, the .com stock market. You know, when the internet was booming, and Facebook was just an idea, and Instagram was an idea, and they were saying to me, it's going to blow up, you're going to be a billionaire. And I was like, yes, perfect. So without any thought whatsoever, I just sold the houses, sold the business, and put all my money into the .com stock market. Packed my bag and moved to LA to live happily ever after in Manhattan Beach on the Strand, where all these rich celebrities live. And that was supposed to be the happy ever after for me. Unfortunately, 3 months after moving there, the stock market burst, the bubble burst, and within 7 days I lost £11 million overnight, almost overnight, because actually it dropped in such great bits that and my bank was saying buy more because this is just a blip, it'll come back. So unfortunately I listened to his advice, bought more, was kind of over here in this fantasy world, when over here everything was like falling to bits. I kind of just went with the flow, and like I say, within 7 days the whole lot was gone, literally gone. I actually owed my bank money, which was a bit tricky. So here I am in LA with the gorgeous Mexican boyfriend, husband, I don't know, I'm broke. But I had lots and lots and lots and lots of art and diamonds and jewellery, and I bought a lot of stuff, but the money was gone. And very shortly after it all disappeared, I realised he wasn't right for me, because without the money, it was horrendous, as you can imagine. It was a complete stranger. And living in a small pokey apartment with a stranger, without the money and the status, I couldn't open doors anymore, I couldn't buy anything, I couldn't do anything, it was just me and him in this place. So the marriage obviously ended, as you can imagine. And to be honest with you, initially losing the money didn't bother me that much, because I didn't really value it, it didn't mean anything to me. It just didn't do it for me. So initially I wasn't bothered. But then as I spent some time alone in this apartment, one evening it was actually, my mother had just died, and it was her funeral. and I couldn't pay to go to visit her. And I hadn't told anybody in my family what had happened because I was just so embarrassed and just, I mean, it was just not something I could bring up and say, oh, I've lost all my money, I'm coming back. And one evening, all of this anxiety, depression, panic, fear, pain, just came over me like a huge tsunami. Tequila, and I took some sleeping tablets to end my life. I don't remember very much about it. All I know is I reached this place where I couldn't handle what was happening to me. It was so powerful that I just didn't want to be here anymore. So I decided to end my life. And thank God, or whatever, I woke up the next day and I was still alive. So I went for a walk on the beach in Hermosa, and I sat and I watched the sunset. And for the very, very first time in my life, I felt gratitude. I was so grateful to be alive. It was incredible. It was the happiest I'd felt in my entire life. I didn't care about anything. All I cared about was that moment of insanity had not taken me there. And I was sitting there, and this very attractive, because in LA, even homeless people are attractive, this out-of-work actor who'd been homeless for years came up to me and said, what are you doing here? And I was like, oh, I'm just so glad I'm here. And I told him a bit about what had happened. And I said, I'm hungry, I've got no money, I'm living in LA, I don't know anybody, my sister-in-law's an alcoholic, I can't go home, I've just tried to kill myself, I don't know what to do. And he put his hand in his pocket and he had this orange. And he said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to share this orange because this is the food that's going to make you and I better. And he was so kind, and I saw gratitude and kindness and compassion from somebody that in my old life I would have stepped on, probably completely ignored. But he showed me incredible passion, grace, joy. It was incredible. So in this moment, I suddenly realized what it is that makes you happy. And I found a purpose. I'd never had a purpose before except to get rich, which clearly hadn't made anything happen for me. So I went home and I said to Holly, you need to stop drinking. We've got to get our act together. We've got to make this work somehow. Because I'm just trying to kill myself. I was humiliated, embarrassed, and I was ashamed, to be honest, that here was this person who had everything, and I just thrown it down the toilet. So we spent a lot of time thinking about what we could do, and I had an art collection, so I decided to open an art gallery in Hermosa Beach, and I put my art in, and I decided that I would find other people in LA who were maybe homeless but great painters, who were poor, people who had creative genius but didn't have any way to express themselves, sell their art or whatever. And this could only ever happen in Hollywood. I came across an Italian fresco master called Ilya Anazov, who is one of only 5 people in the world who can restore the Sistine Chapel if it starts to fall to bits. He's a fresco master. And he'd been given genius status to live in the US, but they left him to basically die and rot in the corner. So I thought, well, this is marvellous, this is my moment. So I decided I would take him to the best in Hollywood and say, look, come on guys, here he is, support him. Because having something to take my mind off my own problems allowed me to give something, to feel good. I was feeling good by helping other people. So I picked Harvey Weinstein, who, as you all know, was the most powerful man in Hollywood. He isn't anymore, anymore, but he was back then, and impossible to get to. We wrote him loads of emails, we begged him, we chased him all the way to Cannes with no money in our pockets. We stayed in a cheesy bed and breakfast, but went to the Eden Rock Hotel in Cannes with t-shirts on saying, looking for Harvey Weinstein. I mean, it was just ridiculous. And every time we'd see him, but we wouldn't get to him. We'd get close and we wouldn't get close. And eventually, one of his people at Miramax Films invited us in to see what we were talking about. And we ended up getting involved in this whole journey with Miramax Films. We made a pilot for a TV show. We got Tommy Lee involved. There's all these celebrities involved, and it was this crazy, crazy, crazy experience that was just from left field. But during the evening, while all of this was happening, I was writing this manuscript called Looking for Harvey Weinstein, and it was really my nervous breakdown. I mean, I was falling to bits, really inside, and I just couldn't find myself. That place is like a lunatic asylum. Everybody thinks it's amazing. You know, the streets are paved with gold. It's beautiful. It's actually one of the most brutal places you could ever be stranded in. Nobody is interested unless you have loads of money. And as you know, I'd lost all my money. So I wrote this book called Looking for Harvey Weinstein, and for quite a while, about a year, I'd been bleeding. And I didn't have any medical insurance, because when you live in the US, if you don't have medical insurance, you don't get to see a doctor. So I couldn't just ring up a doctor. And I'd been feeling really poorly, I'd lost a lot of weight, my mind, I was crazy, everything was just crazy. And I woke up one day and I collapsed. And Holly called for the paramedics, and I was resuscitated, rushed into hospital, and they told me that my blood count was 3.7. So basically I was like a fraction away from death. And I thought losing the money was the bottom, but this was the bottom. And I was in this hospital, and on one side there was a priest reading me the last rites, and on the other side there was a hospital administrator begging me for my credit card, and there was a doctor standing by my bed saying, you're about to die, so if we don't get you emergency surgery and blood transfusions, your history. So once again I was in this unbelievable situation that I just couldn't, I just didn't know what to do, what to think. Basically I just wished I'd died when I killed myself. That's how I felt. And if you want to know the difference between real fear, which is when a lion's coming to get you, you have a small almond-shaped thing in your brain that gives you a flight or fight situation. That's real fear. Irrational fear is something completely different. Irrational fear is connected to anxiety, to insecurity, to all the strange things that send your mind crazy. And when they were saying to me, you need 3 blood transfusions, I was saying, but I don't want it because it might be contaminated with HIV. So here's the doctor telling me I'm dying for real, but my fear was contracting HIV and having the blood of a complete stranger pumped into my body. And that's irrational fear, isn't it? Because I should have been more concerned about death, but I wasn't. I was afraid of catching a disease. But anyway, the doctor said to me, you either do this or you're dead. So I let them give me the blood transfusions. The priest left, Holly left, and this evening in this hospital room on my own, with this blood being pumped through my body, it was really, it was all over. And I remember getting out of bed, and the next thing I remember, I was standing at the end of my bed, and I could see my body in the bed, covered in blood. It was everywhere. It was all over the floor, and it was like a stiff body ready to be zipped up to go to the morgue. And all I can tell you with this near-death experience and seeing my own body, I felt the most incredible calm and peace I've ever felt in my life. It was beautiful, and it was like over, not me, it was gone. And it was an incredible experience. Was it a real life death thing? I don't know. Was it a near death? I have no idea. All I know is what I saw and how I felt. And then after I don't know how long, a little while, I suddenly had this feeling of intense pins and needles all over my body. It was like, you know when you lie on your arm and it goes dead, and then all of a sudden the blood comes into your arm and you can't hardly move it because it feels like it was this intense feeling of pins and needles. And I saw a nurse, she was giving me another transfusion, and I was back in my body. And she said to me, it's all going to be okay. You're going to be all right. You're going to be okay. And the following day, the doctor came and told me that I had an 8-pound fibroid in my uterus, which was the size of a football. It had basically allowed me to bleed pretty much to death. The blood transfusions hadn't worked, and I've since found out it's 1 in a billion chance that your body rejects a blood transfusion. So I kind of was thinking to myself, well, did it have HIV in it? I mean, is that why this happened? You know, I had all these thoughts about why it happened, but anyway, they said to me, we've got to operate today, otherwise it's history, you know, you're going to die. And I kept saying, I've got no insurance, I've got no money, you can't do this because I can't pay for it. So eventually they threw me out of the hospital with enough progesterone tablets to stop the bleeding for a while until I could get safely home to the UK, to the beautiful NHS, and have my life saved for free. And for 2 weeks I was in this small apartment with Holly, my nurse, looking after me, and she was great. They told her I had to have cantaloupe melon, I had to have all this special food, and she'd since left the other brother and was, you know, clean and not drinking. And so she started taking care of me, and I started slowly to recover physically, because I was cut from here to here. It was major. I mean, no, actually I wasn't cut then because we're not there yet, but they were going to cut me from here to here because this thing was so big that they wouldn't have been able to get it out normally. After 2 weeks of getting ready to go home to the UK and finding something in me, being brave enough to phone my family and say, you know, I'm just screwed up, I'm broke, I'm penniless, I'm dying, and I have to come back and start again. We got evicted from our house. The landlord threw us out. And in LA, when you find yourself homeless, it's impossible to know what to do. So we did some research, and in Compton, which is the most dangerous place in Los Angeles, there is a clinic, an underground clinic for Mexican immigrants and the homeless, and they provide this incredible free service for people who don't have anything. And it's amazing work. They were incredible, and they provided the progesterone tablets I needed, and they gave us the address of a homeless, it wasn't even a homeless shelter, it was an old church in Compton that a priest had turned into a place for gangsters and gang members and Mexican drug addicts and murderers, and I mean, it was not nice, and it certainly wasn't the place for girls like Holly and I, but we had no choice because it's the only thing you can do. We needed safety, I needed comfort, we needed the tablets, we had to be with the homeless and the immigrants in Los Angeles. It wasn't Harvey Weinstein anymore, this was real life. And the first night we were in the homeless shelter, I remember waking up and there was a man over me with a little knife at my throat, really deranged eyes and sweaty and smelly and disgusting, and he was about to rape me. And I looked him in the eye and I said, we'll just do it, because I'm dying anyway, so just do it. Murder me, rape me, do whatever you want to do. And he looked at me and he ran off. He got me a pillow, a cup, an extra blanket, and within 3 days we became the light in this difficult place. And I started life coaching them and recognizing, my life had been terrible and all these things had happened, but these people were way worse off than me. I mean, at least I had a chance, at least I'd had the opportunity to see both sides of the coin. They had no chance. So I started working with them, life coaching them. I got them to start a homeless t-shirt company, and to cut a long story short, it's now a very successful homeless t-shirt company in Los Angeles. Eventually, my old business partner sent us 2 tickets to fly back with Virgin. We came back in July 2005, and Mr. Island, who is the #1 gynecologist in Leicester, cancelled his holiday to give me life-saving surgery. And that is what is important. When a man of his position is more interested in saving a life than going on holiday. And I mean, how could you not be grateful for that? So he saved my life, and as I say, I was cut from right the way down. He removed the fibroid, and within, 4 months, I was back on my feet. I was back home in Leicester, quite old now, after this amazing journey, and I recovered. And then I had to sign on the dole, which was horrific. Probably more horrific than many of the other things that had happened to me, because it was so belittling and difficult, and I just found it really embarrassing, to be honest, because I didn't, even though I was grateful for what had happened, that was a real setback for a social entrepreneur who thought she was fantastic. So I signed on the dole in Leicester, and every 2 weeks I went, and it was really tough. But I started to think, what? This could be a good thing. I'm back here. This is smaller. There's opportunity here. There must be something I can do to get myself back, using my purpose and my business brain. So I decided that I would go to the job centre and pitch them this idea that I'm this genius businesswoman. I just needed their help. And they awarded me a £300 business loan, which was absolutely fantastic. And as the girl that I am, the first thing I decided to do with the money was to go and buy some clothes. And obviously £300 isn't very much, so I started to go to Oxfam, Cancer Research. I started looking in all these charity shops to clothe myself, ready to start this new life and this new business. And it was amazing. And I found in Cancer Research a pair of perfect black leggings that were made in France. They were £300. I did some research, retail. The fabric was unbelievable, and they were £5. And I put them on, and they were amazing. They just looked amazing. And I felt really good again, I was like, yes, I'm back. I bought a really nice jacket, and I got myself kind of ready. I then decided to open a street clinic in Leicester and life coach the homeless privately, because that was my purpose and I loved doing it, and it was amazing. And ITV found out about it, the BBC found out about it. They made Inside Out, they made a couple of films about what had happened, and it was all, at that time, aspiration was just starting. So, shopping in charity shops was looked upon as, not very good, and if you didn't have, this was a time where people were buying and spending, and I was I'd done all that. I was going to the bottom and shopping in charity shops and picking up amazing things. Buy new and the joke's on you, eh? So when they bored them to death. I was like, I need to get another pair, so I couldn't find anything to replace these amazing leggings. And I was thinking, this is it. This is the gap in the market. There's not a good legging out there. So I decided to take this fabric from these leggings falling off me to the one remaining mill that's left in the UK in Nottingham, Rainbow Knitting. And like the man in the white suit, I don't know if any of you have seen that film, Alec Guinness, where he produces that white material that's magic. I put it down and said, reproduce this material for me, please. And they told me it was going to cost X amount. So I decided to go back to the city of London, raise some funds from my old clients, and I raised enough money for the mill who had told me that Marks and Spencer's had left them for China, Next had left them for China, all these big brands had left them and they were basically going bankrupt. So I said, let's produce this fabric and we can save the mill, we can produce a perfect black legging and everybody will be happy. So it took 2 years for the fabric to be made. And that's because every time they tried to put the recipe together, they either stretched too much, the colour was wrong. It took a long, long time, a lot of patience, a lot of hard work for this mill. And they didn't give up to give me this fabric. I then found, once we'd achieved the fabric, I then found a small factory on Saffron Lane who was also going bankrupt because Marks and Spencer's, Asda, all the big brands had left them to rot. And I said, look, I've got this material, I've got this legging, make a pattern, reproduce the legging, and we'll all be rich. And so, for always the broker. So they did, and they produced the perfect black legging. The French company had since gone bankrupt, so there was no issue with me taking this idea. And I named it the PBL, I trademarked it all over the world, and I created the company Venus Cow, as some of you know, because I've got some customers here who wear the leggings, I'm sure you all know about it. And this legging, I decided, would be the vehicle to allow me to fund free talk therapy for everybody who can't afford it. And, because I'd been there myself, and I had nobody, and I knew what it was like. I knew my purpose. My business was fashion, but my purpose was to save the world. And it's a big dream, but, you've got to have a dream, haven't you? And so I started selling the legging, and the people that wear it, I'm sure you'll all agree, it's amazing. And the resale's fantastic. And I was still doing my street clinic in Leicester, and I started to really understand that my whole life, this journey, had been so incredible and so amazing that I knew money didn't make you happy. I know that. And I could tell all of you, no matter how much you think it does, it doesn't. It just doesn't. It buys stuff, it probably gives you a better life, but I don't know if any of you know when I say I'm talking about the person inside. The person who you really are, the authentic you, the person who, without money, can be happy. And I learned a lot from working with the homeless and addicted because, a lot of them have had great jobs. A lot of them have had marriages. A lot of them have had lives like me. And through circumstances, they'd spiraled down and ended up, with this mental health nightmare, anxiety, depression, suicide, taking drugs, opting out, not really finding a purpose or a reason to be here. And I loved it. I just loved it. So I started to study what it is that makes us who we are. And we all have a story, and we all have issues, regardless of whether we think we do or not. And we're all just personas, aren't we? Because your name doesn't make you who you are, because that can change. Your thoughts don't make you who you are, because they change. You are something different. You're something separate to the labels, the jobs, the masks. You're human beings with this incredible machine and this incredible power in your brains. But unfortunately, from when we're very young, we are told how to think by our parents, by our teachers, by the people who take care of us. Think about how many times when you were a child you were told, don't do that, do it this way. Don't do it that way or else. But instinctively, you want to do it your way because it's your way, it's your unique way. You put your hand in the fire, you never do it again because you know it burns you. So right from the very beginning, we are told how to think, how to feel. We all create a persona to survive. It's what we do. It's your ego. And your ego is your survival machine. And it prevents you from, it allows you to create this thing that stops you being judged, stops you being looked at, stops you being picked on. It's this persona that kind of puts us into this automatic thinking. We don't have one brain, we have two brains. We have a conscious brain and we have an automatic thinking brain. 99% of the time we are on the automatic thinking brain because your conscious thinking is only 10% of your brain power. So when you make a decision, say, for instance, I'm going to give up meat, I'm going on a diet, and you're so positive, you're so sure, you know you're going to do it, you've made the decision, you're doing it. And then an hour later, you're at work and your boss is screaming at you, telling you you're a loser. You're late for work, you're a loser. And then your husband or your wife rings up and says, oh, the washing machine's broken. And life takes over. And by lunchtime, you're stuffing a great big cream cake in your face and you've completely forgotten that you consciously decided to go on a diet. And that's why it's so hard to make a change. And it is. You can do it for a bit. But it's so hard to change who you are because you only use 10% of your brain. So what's the other 90%? So if you think about an iceberg, the little bit above the water is the 10%. The bit below that is 40%, and that's your subconscious mind. And that's your short-term memory. So now if I asked any of you, you can bring your PIN number out just like that, you can bring your phone number out just like that. Your short-term memory, the things that you remember to survive, is also this incredible memory bank that contains every single memory you have ever had in your life. It's incredible. It is the most powerful part of your brain. And then the bottom part of your brain, 50%, is your unconscious. And this is where all your dark side lives. The stuff that you've thrown in the recycling bin because you don't want to remember it. Maybe it's painful. Maybe you're ashamed. It's stuff that maybe you've been abused. Maybe you've been hurt. Maybe you've got dark memories. It's all in this unconscious part of your brain. But unfortunately, this unconscious part of your brain that you've hidden and you don't want to know about it, it influences every single decision that you make. It's there. You can't get rid of it. And that's why in therapy, therapists work to deal with this first, because until this is dealt with and all of this is out on the table, like I've done tonight about my life. I've been truthful. I've let it go. It doesn't make me who I am. It's just a story. It's not me. It's just a story. And once that unconscious part of your brain is cleared, you then concentrate on this middle subconscious bit, because all of a sudden that goes from 40% to 90% of your brain power. And you can train your subconscious brain to do anything. It's a computer. It's you put in it what you want to remember. So, for instance, you train your subconscious brain for 19 days. You wake up every day and you say, I have no attachment to anything. I'm part of something greater. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it for real. If you train your brain to think in a different way, you can do anything. And I know, because I've done it. So understanding that you have power, and you don't have to just say, well, I've made these choices. This is my life. This is what I'm stuck with. You don't have to do that. But what you do have to do is be honest with yourself. Face the choices you've made, and clear your body, clear your mind, clear your machine, so you're operating and working towards something that makes you happy. And at the moment, well, actually I should have probably said this at the beginning, but at the beginning when you all came in here, you were all in a beta frequency. And we have 5 frequencies in our brains. We're only going to talk about 2 tonight, because the other 3 are when you're really, really, really developed. But a beta state of frequency is your inner critic. You know that thing in your head that's telling you, and talking to you, making you feel bad, reminding you, going on and on and on. It's noisy, it's always talking, it's always... You're never ever relaxed, you're never thinking, it's always there, it's always there, it's always there. That's when you're in a beta frequency. When you get into an alpha frequency, that's when you're relaxed, and you're meditating, and you're clearing your mind, and you're making room to think about more than just this voice that's telling you, and your inner critic. So meditating is the way that you get yourself into a relaxed frequency within your brain. And it truly is, I mean, loads of people say it truly is the only way to clear some of your mind, so you can have time to catch up with what it is that you really feel and what you're doing and how you want to improve your life. It's really important to meditate, to breathe, and to get yourself into an alpha frequency, so that you don't feel and react. You think and you act. Because when you feel, you make a mistake, don't you? You're screaming and shouting and blurting it all out before you've seen the whole picture. When you think before you feel, you have time to stand back and decide, are you projecting your misery on somebody else? Are you to blame? Did you say the right thing? You have time to not react, but to think. And it's way easier and it's way nicer to live your life in control. Because when you're out of control, you're reacting all the time. And it's these things that create permanent anxiety and a feeling that your body tells you you're in panic mode, you don't feel good. Your body lets you know when you're in a state, because your body works with your mind. So if you're relaxed, in control, your body doesn't feel anxiety, it doesn't feel panic, it feels confident and strong. And the Mind Detective, this book from the dyslexic schoolgirl, is something I learned when I was falling to bits. I needed a teacher and I needed a mentor. I didn't want anything religious because, I mean, religion's about war and my God's better than your God, and it doesn't do it for me. I needed a teacher, somebody who understood the mind, because I needed to work my mind out to be successful again. So when I was in LA and everything was falling to bits, I had enough money to go to a bookstore, and I bought a book called Modern Man in Search of the Soul, which is a book written by Carl Jung, who is one of the great Freud's friend and one of the great masters at working out your mind. It was the hardest book I've ever read in my life. It's so hard. But there were bits of it that actually really resonated with me, and he helped me. He helped me recover. And he helped me understand that as an individual thinker, away from the pack, with everything away from me as an individual thinker, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. I know what I know is right for me, and I am going to do something against the whole pack. He taught me to be individual. So I wanted to write a book based on my own personal journey as a self-therapist and a talk therapist with anybody who's working themselves out. So this kind of book is an easier modern day version and an up-to-date version of the work he was doing a long time ago. And I'm very proud of it because, like I say, I don't have that gift of being able to spell or read or write. So I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of what it means. And I'm really, really proud of my life. And I'm proud that I'm here today with all of you guys. And I'm proud that I've been able to achieve so many amazing things. And the downside, if any of you felt sorry for me tonight, or if any of you felt empathy, or you were shocked, or you were like, oh, I didn't know that, Jesus. All of those things don't matter, because I'm here today, I'm 63 years old, I'm an author now, and isn't that great? And I'm a fashion designer, and isn't that great? And I'm a mind detective, isn't that great? And who would have ever imagined all those years ago, in that difficult, dark moment, that this would have manifested itself? So I hope you're all inspired, I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you buy the book, not because I want to be rich, or because I want it to be a bestseller, or because of my ego. I want you to buy it because I think it will really help you, and I think it will make you understand how beautiful, powerful, amazing, and incredible you all are as human beings, just like me. And that's the end. So does anybody want to ask me anything? Is anybody brave enough?
Did I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if it's a question or just to get your thoughts, if that makes sense.
Yep.
When we look around the world, a lot of people who have nothing are more grateful than us that have a lot. And I've often thought if you have nothing, you've nothing to lose.
Exactly.
Therefore, your stress level doesn't really exist because you can't go any lower, can you?
No.
Have you had any thoughts that subconsciously, because when you're at the top, the pressure of maintaining that level is overwhelming, as you said.
Overwhelming.
So, have you any thoughts that maybe subconsciously you kind of wanted to lose it all?
I did.
Okay.
Absolutely subconsciously wanted, because it wasn't me.
Yeah.
And I was keeping up the pretense to please everybody else. I was a people pleaser. I wasn't pleasing me, I was pleasing everybody else. And the other thing is, status anxiety is the most horrific anxiety you could ever experience, because when you lose your status, you lose everything. I don't know if any of you have seen a film called Blue Jasmine by Woody Allen. you know, she loses everything and she ends up having to sell shoes in a shoe shop, and I mean, she can't bear it, and she has anxiety. And so status, you know, yes, I subconsciously, it had to go. I mean, it had to go because it wasn't me.
Because you describe yourself as obviously a very successful businesswoman, so some of the choices you made, they don't add up, do they, with, you know, like losing all your money type thing?
But the choices you make are usually because of the circumstances you're in. I mean, it's ever so easy to say, I would do this or I would do that. But when you're in a situation like, you know, when I was 16 years old on a council estate, how was I ever going to get to London without sleeping with somebody?
Yeah, sure.
I wasn't going to be able to do it. So I sold my soul, made a choice, got to where I needed to be, and then continued doing that, subconsciously believing that it wasn't really the right thing to do, because that's not my core values.
Sure.
You know, that's not gratitude, humility, compassion. That's just survival. So, yeah, I mean, in a way, subconsciously, it had to go.
Yeah.
And it was the best thing that ever happened to me, and that's the honest truth. It really was, because today, I'm back on my road to success again, but I'm a better person. You know, I've got better values. And the less I sell myself and the less I compromise myself, the more successful I become, because people believe in me for real now. I'm authentic. So
I was about to say authenticity is very powerful,
it's
isn't it?
so important. In fact, it's probably the most important quality we could ever have.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Anybody else? Oh, yes.
Where do you think it's going to go with all this Instagram stuff and this? Obviously, I've got a 20-year-old daughter, and you know, this perfection that isn't even real. These apps that they've got that are putting their bodies smaller, and where do you think this is going to go for them? And how are girls going to? Because we didn't have any of that, did we? So
No.
we didn't have to. Where do you think this is going to end up for them?
Well, there are some scary things happening at the moment, and a lot of young people, as you know, a lot of young boys are committing suicide because the pressure is horrific.
Yeah.
A lot of young girls don't really want to have big lips and hair extensions and nails, but they're keeping up this persona.
Yeah.
It's a persona.
Yeah.
And they're copying each other, and
they're all looking the same.
And they're all looking the same.
Yeah.
But deep down inside, they're all in serious trouble. And I've just been reading, you know, that a lot of young people are turning to Islam or Christianity and religion to cleanse themselves of this horrific environment we're living in that's only based on the way you look, the amount of money you have, you know, how many selfies you take. And I did a talk not long ago to some school children who were in their early teens, and I separated the boys from the girls. And I asked all the boys what they wanted to be when they left school, and 98% of them said they wanted to be a porn star. And their reasoning was good. Their reasoning is you don't need any qualifications, you spend all day having sex with different women, you get paid for it, and it's a great job. You don't need to go to university. And then I asked the girls what they felt about their bodies and their sexuality, and 98% of them were shaving their pubic hair and creating the porn star image to get the boyfriend.
Yeah.
And then I asked the boys this question. I said, would you marry a porn star or would you marry a virgin? And all of them said, the virgin. So I went back to the girls and said, you know, while ever you're giving your body for free because you think that's what the boy wants, he's in there saying he's not interested because he's looking for a virgin. So I think what's happening is they're not getting any global information.
Yeah.
They're trapped in this narrow-minded environment, and they're not seeing anything else. They're not learning anything. And it's a very dangerous place. But the only thing I think is it's changing. I don't know if you've noticed, Facebook is changing. People aren't going on there so much because there's fraud, you know, people have identity theft. You know, we've given everything freely to the brands and marketing machine and said, here you go, here's my email, this is what I like. Let's just take a look at, what's her name, the Google girl, what's her name?
Alexa.
Alexa. So Alexa, go buy it. Go buy it. She'll put your music on for you. She'll tell you how to make a scone. She'll even tell you if the M1's busy. And how easy and convenient is that? But there's a very, very dark, sinister side to this woman.
I've heard about this. They're listening, aren't they?
She's watching you.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
And she's listening to you
Yeah.
arguing with your partner. And she's telling Google all about you. So they can go cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha and then hit you back
Yeah,
with
that
exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, I've noticed it coming on my feed. Have you?
All the time.
I googled something the other day because I didn't feel very well. You know how we do it with the Google doctor. Then all this stuff started coming, and I thought, oh my God, have I really got it then? Because now it's all coming through.
Well, exactly.
And it's scary.
It's scary. So because we've been trusted and because we've been honest with and free with our information, and we're not thinking, remember what I said, there's the conscious person, 2 brains, and the automatic thinking, where you're just autopilot. You're just an autopilot. You're driving along. You're thinking about this, you're thinking about that. You're not noticing anything that's really happening around you. And while that's going on, that evil woman, Alexa.
Would you have an Alexa then?
Never.
Right.
I use my mobile phone once a week, if that.
Yeah.
Holly does all the social media. I can't bear it. And you know why I can't bear it? Because people are pouring out there. I mean, you go on there and it's like, I've got period pains, I feel like shit. The next day they're saying, I'm a life coach and I can tell you how to be amazing. And you think, well, hang on, yesterday you had period pains and you were depressed. And then the next day they're saying, buy my book and it'll change your life. It's become a selling platform. Social media is social. That means you can socialise. But how can you socialise on the internet? You don't know who you're talking to. It could be anybody. Think about, this is a great thing. When you use your imagination to make a decision, you're going to get screwed. So, you're going on an internet dating app because you want a boyfriend. And you go through left, right, however they do it. And then he's there, and he's absolutely perfect. He's just perfect. His name's Bill, he fits your profile. You love him already, don't you? I mean, you love him because he's right. You're going to marry him. So you send Bill a message, and Bill comes back immediately and says, my God, you're just beautiful, you're perfect. And then for about 2 weeks, in your imagination, you are creating the perfect romance. And by the time you go to meet him, you're in love. He's the one. You've built up this ridiculous concept, an idea of this person. And you pitch up, and it's a 2-foot paedophile who's nothing like you've created in your imagination. Instead of sitting back and saying, you stupid idiot, what did you do that for? That then sends you into a place of despair because you subconsciously have triggered your brain to believe you're in love. And when it doesn't work out, you're having a nervous breakdown because your heart's broken when all that's happened is you've spoken to a stranger on the internet. That's how powerful your subconscious is. Don't use your imagination ever. Wait till you turn up, see the paedophile, slap him around the face, and leave. And that way, you're not connected, you don't get hurt, you're not drinking a bottle of wine, wishing you were all by yourself, are you? Bridget Jones. So never use your imagination. And the internet it's not where it's at, let's put it that way.
No.
And somehow we have to teach young people, we have to model the behaviour that we want young people to have. We have to.
People making money from it are going to keep pushing that, aren't they?
Yeah, but it will explode.
I think.
Yeah, I do. But it already is. It's already. The more people that talk about how much you're being watched, the more people that recognise what you look like just does not matter, does it?
No.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you've got one leg shorter than the other, or your boobs are a bit droopy, or you're 63. I mean, I don't think I feel 63. And I don't care what anybody thinks about me. I take selfies, not because I'm going, gotcha, amazing. I do it because I have a business and I have to. But I don't overdo it. You know, I try and also add some life coaching in there to give back. So I think if we change, when you make a change, everybody else starts to make a change. If you were the only smoker in the world, you wouldn't smoke, would you?
No.
So don't follow like a black sheep. Don't be a pack. Be individual. Have your opinions, and model your daughter the behaviour that you throw your phone in the bin.
I think the thing is, everybody in this room's had that life before all that. The ones that are like she is 20, they've only had that. So she said the other day, oh my God, I can't go and meet this person because I don't even look like that. That's what she's.
But subconsciously, she's already planned that this person is right for her.
Yeah.
She hasn't stood back and said, well, I'll just be
Just go
cautious
out. Just
and
go out with them, yeah.
and have fun. And I've been celibate now by choice since 2000 when I lost all my money. That's 18 years. And, you know, I could have sex every day of the week, even at this age. I mean, the more you say no, the more they want it. So, you know, you've got to kind of, you know, when you give it, it's over. When you're holding it back, it's a challenge. So we've got to change the way we think to educate young people that this virtual world that's happened is not where it's at.
Yeah, I do talk to her about it, obviously.
Yeah.
She's
Throw your
quite-
phone
yeah.
away for a bit.
Yeah.
Change your behaviour.
Don't
I
be able
know.
to get it out of her grip. That'd be a problem.
Well, just try and change who you are a bit. And so she's got something to model on.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, when you are on Facebook or Instagram, alerts come up in red, don't they? You've got a message.
Yeah.
You've got this. It's always red. When you're walking down the street, sale signs are always red, aren't they? And that's because you subconsciously have been trained when you see a red sale sign that it's something you should jump into. You know, and if you've only got 20 likes and you had 30 the day before, does that make you
You know
inadequate?
they're taking them away, the likes.
Well,
Taking them away.
so they should.
And they've done it already in Australia. It's coming here as well. We won't have any Instagram likes soon. Because you know why all these bloggers that are making all this money that's what they're living on, getting like 2,000 likes, so they're taking it away because people are killing themselves, aren't they?
Yeah.
And, oh my God, I've put this picture on and I've got no likes.
But the thing to understand about likes is you can buy 10,000 for $90.
Yeah.
So tomorrow I could have 1 million followers and everybody will think, oh God, she's so amazing, but I would have paid for them.
Yeah,
So it's not real. It's
that's why
just-
they're taking it away.
Yeah, it's
Which
not
is
real.
good news, isn't it?
Really good news, yeah.
But I don't know when it's coming to England, but it's definitely they've been taken away already in Australia.
Well,
Because obviously all the bloggers are going crazy about it because they live their life by it, don't
it's time to live real life. And as hard as it is to change, it's the one question I get asked more than anything: how do I change? And the truth is, you just change. I mean, you change. I mean, there's no big secret to it. You just change. And if you want to see change in the world, you have to be that change. That's life.
And only you can do it.
And only you can do it, and that's the truth. Nobody can do it for you. You have to be the change. Sorry, somebody over here wanted to. Oh, there you are.
Sorry, yeah. It was just from talking in terms of change, it triggered it for me. One of the biggest things that I've found, I mean, I am older than most people, but at the end of the day, one of the biggest things that freed me up in my life, if you like, which is what you're talking about, not worrying about everyone
Right.
else,
Right.
is that just to stop bothering about being judged.
Yeah.
People who judge you haven't got a life. And not
People who judge you
others
are jealous of you.
Yeah, so really to just completely ignore people who judge you, and it's just so freeing.
It's so freeing, because really, anybody that's judging you is projecting on you their own misery
Problem, yeah.
and their own problem.
Yeah.
So you know, loads of people judge me. I mean, what's she wearing those tight leggings for at 63? What's she doing that for? What's she doing this for? You know, get on with your own life and mind your own business. That's what I
As
say.
soon as
Mind
you reach
your
that
own
place, you're
business.
freer, much freer.
And you're so free, you're right, you're free, and it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, it matters what you think.
Yeah.
You are the only person that counts. And you want to go out of this life sideways, saying, oh my God, that was one hell of a ride. Because if you don't, you're going to be carried out in a box, after living in a box, thinking in a box, being a box, and you'll be like when I was on my deathbed, full of regrets. And it's too late then. So when you leave here today, be yourselves and be fantastic. And it's not about motivation is no good, because motivation doesn't work. It's got to be about desire. How much do you want to be free? How much do you want to change? And how much do you want to be thin over the cream cake? It's a choice. You know, whatever you're stuffing that cream cake in your face to feel comfort, it's not comfort. It's bad for you. And don't eat it. Don't have a desire for it. Have a desire to go for a jog. Have a desire to be healthy, to take care of your body. Would you put the wrong pepper? What's wrong with me? Then I could be full of anxiety. Then I could be thinking people are looking at me and judging me, and I don't feel good. But if I wake up, meditate, fill my soul, say to my subconscious, today is the day. Today's the day. And always something amazing happens. I went on Thursday to see John Lewis about these lovely leggings. And, you know, I'm a small brand, they're a big giant. But I bollocked them in the meeting and said, why aren't you making your clothes in Britain? Why are you making your clothes in China? Why are you saying crap to people? Why aren't you making beautiful clothes for affordable price so every woman can feel fantastic? And they were like looking at me, poking at me, oh, what is it? Oh, God, that's so weird. But I won them over eventually because I believe in supporting British manufacturing. I believed in me. And by the end, they all had the leggings on. They were all going on holiday in them. They loved them. And they're giving me a pop-up shop in John Lewis. Oh, brilliant. I believed I could do it. And I didn't go in there thinking, well, they're thinking I'm awful, does my hair look terrible? And the actual terrible thing is, on the day I did this, my bloody hairdresser sacked me for complaining. The world has gone mad. I complained I didn't like my hair, and he took it the wrong way. His ego got pricked, he lost his mind, and he fired me. So my opening line with the woman in John Lewis was, you won't believe what's happened to me today. My hairdresser has sacked me for complaining. How can that be?
Not when you're paying.
Well, exactly, but he didn't think, he felt, and he reacted.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking, okay, she's got a point, and I'm her hairdresser, and she's got the most important meeting of her life. It's my priority to make sure her hair looks great. But oh no, he fired me. But I didn't let it bother me. I turned it into something amazing. And that's what you have to do. And then what you just said, things happen for a reason. So I lost my money. Why did I lose my money? So I could find my purpose. It happened for a reason. Mm-hmm. I'd rather think that than beat myself up, commit suicide, be a failure, and feel terrible. I'm grateful I lost it, because look at me now. I've got way more than I ever had back then. And I don't have to sell myself. And I certainly wouldn't sleep with somebody for success. You know, I did that when I was stupid. Yeah. Now, you know, if something happens and it seems, you know, like it's the wrong thing, I just say no, go with it. If somebody's mean to me, I'm like, well, okay, it's not meant to be. And it's a really great freeing way to think. So yeah, I do. Anything else? Oh, Jason.
How would you categorise the book? So like, what sort of audience are you targeting with it? You know, my story with me, anxiety and panic and stuff. I mean, when I see a book that I think could help me, it's like, I go to it, you know. I read a book a couple of years ago, it's actually made me feel ill about anxiety, you know, it made me worse.
Right. The reason that happened is because self-help books, who's the only person who's getting self-help? The person who's written it. You know, they're helping themselves. They're not helping you.
Like, you know, I've recently read a comic that's about anxiety, and the first little cartoon was, this isn't a self-help book, you won't find a cure.
Right.
And straight away I read that book
Right.
totally different. Because
Right.
I was thinking, I'm going to read this and hopefully I'll understand.
Exactly.
But it wasn't, it was just a story and you absorb
Right.
it and it was good feeling. You know?
Well, this is not a self-help book because, like I say, you know, that's about the person. Anybody who writes a self-help book without having his life-changing experience doesn't know a bloody thing, do they? You know, I know what anxiety feels like. I know what depression feels like. I know what it's like to commit suicide. I know what it's like to lose money. I know what it's like to be homeless. I know what that feels like. So I want to target an audience of people who aren't looking for the answer. They're just looking for maybe a few tips from me for how I managed to overcome incredible adversity. And there's a quote in the book that you wrote on social media when you were having one of your mad attacks.
When I was into social media, now I'm not on it at all,
Right.
but apart from Twitter, because that's important to me. You know,
But you wrote something very powerful that explains, well, you won't
I wrote a lot
remember.
and got told off for a lot of stuff.
You won't remember, but it was very powerful and it's in the book. So my target audience is anybody who wants to support somebody fabulous like me. That's the first thing, because obviously if I could make this book a bestseller, it's not going to go in my pocket to buy a yacht. It's going to save the homeless, the addicted, and do something amazing as a social entrepreneur. So I'm hoping that it's an audience for anybody who wants to support that, for anybody who wants to just learn from what I've learned and a few things that, you know, about how you work as a human being. And yeah, I mean, the world's my oyster. Anybody who's not looking for the answer, because there is no answer. You know, if you've got anxiety because you have something inside of you that you haven't quite worked out yet. But you'll get there. You just keep trying. You keep trying something different. You keep working on yourself. It's desire again. You know, you get there eventually, but life is a journey, not a destination. So anybody who wants to support something fantastic is the audience. Anything else? So hot. See, I'm melting like Dorothy.
Oh,
Is it
sorry.
Dorothy that melted?
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's it then. Oh.
I was going to say, at what point did you realise, you know, when you were starting to sell stuff on, or via sort of charity shops and that,
Yeah.
at what point did you realise this, I might be onto something here?
Oh, right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Because if you think about shopaholics, and there's so many shopaholics out there. I mean, I was one. I was the worst one. You know, they buy all these clothes, not because they want them or they like wearing them, but because they're getting off on it. You know, it's a fix. And then they stay in the wardrobe for a while, and then they donate it to the charity shop. And you know, you can pick up things that have still got the tickets on that have never been worn. So like I said earlier, buy new and the joke's on you. And so you're doing good, feeling good, recycling. And once you get over the status anxiety, it makes common sense, doesn't it? I want to save the planet, not fill landfill. So for me, recycling clothes and emptying wardrobes, I mean, if I could go in everybody's wardrobe in here, I mean, we'd go, no, doesn't fit, doesn't look good, and we'd end up with, you know, a small tight wardrobe that works for your lifestyle.
Another thing I want to say, because like people are saying sort of bad things about social media.
Mhm.
I use social media a lot, not to air my
Dirty laundry.
but I do it basically to meet other people.
Right.
Because I buy antiques in
cool.
charity shops and I
Oh,
sell them.
brilliant.
And I've met people in America who are into the same sort of thing, and Karen here.
That's brilliant.
We're into the same sort of thing, and we're wanting to sort of build the idea, and we've well, I don't know about you, but I've built up a network in America, in China, in India, in places like that, via Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you know, all of these social media outlets, to basically say, you know, to speak to them about it.
Well, you're just capitalising on a growing market.
Yeah.
This is the time to do it. This is the time when we have the war and it's all over. That's when the big boys die, and all the entrepreneurs can come up from the roots of the ground, and small businesses get an opportunity to. In a difficult time, we make money.
Yeah.
So you're in the right place at the right time, and good luck. I mean, keep doing it, because you know, we can't afford to buy a brand new TV now every week. We've got to buy recycled. We've got to save the planet. We've got to start thinking.
I totally agree with that.
So congratulations, and
So
I hope
you use
it,
them as a tool.
I use
The
it
right
all.
way.
I don't go,
I'm looking for a girlfriend.
boyfriend.
Perfect tools, aren't they? They're useful.
I'm using it for, yeah.
I haven't got menopause, I'm over that. I've never worn a leather jacket. It's stuck on me. It's so tight. It's so tight, it's stuck on me. Yeah, I bet you will. I knew you'd like it.
They're saying that.
So did you enjoy it?
People are like
Good.
designers and artists
Good.
work for charity. I've been friends with them.
Right.
It's work. And it's
Great, thank you.
well. Yeah. But